Hey cool cats, Roz and Neko here. Today we're going to be going over Birushana, Rising Flower of the Genpei. But let's be honest here, this game is nothing like Hakuoki. It does have some similarities. The story, characters, gameplay, and just the game in general are nothing alike. Let me explain. First, the story is set up like this. 15 years ago, after the Heiji Rebellion, the Heike clan has reached the height of its power, while the Genji clan remains devastated by defeat. Hidden deep within the mountains of Kurama lives Shinao, the youngest surviving male heir to the Genji name. However, Shinao harbors a deep secret known by very few. The youngest heir to the Genji name is no man. Torn between her duty to live up to the Genji family name and her desire to live a peaceful life, Shinao sets off in hopes to take down the Heike stronghold and finally bring peace in the country. Her adventure leads her to find new cherished relationships as well as something deeper than the feud between the rivaling clans. Already, we have a setup of a historical game where there's a war and her sanity is at stake. I feel you, girl. The storyline mostly stays the same of betting a cute hot guy about chasing down a monk, running away from some weird brothers, being supported by her best friend, running off to another village to find peace, while also finding the rest of her supportive, adorably hilarious harem. Oh my gosh, I've had so many laughs just watching their banter alone. Not only that, but the side characters are also options in the end. Yes, please. They were short, but nonetheless. I digress. Anyway, let's meet these wonderful cast of characters, shall we? One of the first characters that you get to see and meet, really, is our best friend character, Shungen. Honestly, I never go for the best friend characters, but this character here honestly surprised me. Usually best friend characters tend to be jealous, or throughout other characters' routes, they tend to be snotty or jealous really easily, but he wasn't at all. Throughout other characters' routes, he was very supportive, or if anyone got in her way, he always thought about her and her well-being and supporting her throughout everything. Overall, I thought he was actually a pretty good supportive character, whether you're in his route or not. And then we have Benkei. Benkei honestly threw me for a loop. I wasn't sure if this was accurate or not, but he is a monk who decided to take samurais away from the Heike, who were essentially taking over and ruling the land, but by terrible means. And he decided to fight against them in his own way. But after meeting Shinao, he decided to serve her as a vessel. He's not the brightest bulb, but he does have the kindest heart and is very earnest. I've never been one to go for himbos, but his kindness, his earnesty just won me over. I wish I could describe him more, but you can find out more in my Kitty Corner podcast, where I give away all of the spoiler content in all of these Otome games. Noratsune is part of the Heike clan, but even though he's a swordsman through and through. He cared more about being an honorable swordsman, combat. Honestly, he was a very interesting and great character, with their relationship being one of the most interesting ones to read. This one followed from being rivals to lovers most definitely. And this is Yoritomo. He's supposed to be our brother, but don't worry, that's definitely not going to be a problem during this route. I had a lot of hesitations about him just because of his strict demeanor, and I felt like that plus the whole brotherly bond became really difficult throughout his story, and I honestly personally couldn't really connect with the character for that. But for those that like characters that don't really show much emotion on their face but love sad backstories, my goodness, did he have a very difficult one. But by far, even though this one was a classic villain love story, it was honestly the most interesting one to read, and that was Tomomori's story. Even though he wasn't my favorite love interest, honestly, at all, but he was a step above the brother love story. I could see it from a mile away, but seeing Tomomori go from extremely intelligent villain that had no care or motivation at all, but his backstory. And honestly, I do highly recommend that you play in a very specific order, and his story is saved for last. I highly recommend it. It makes the story much more interesting and much more enjoyable. His story at the end honestly really blew me away. I wouldn't say it's over the top, but it makes it much more enjoyable, so much more palatable. There are side characters like Suganobu, Tononobu, Takatsuna, and Shigehira that have routes, and I'll go over them very quickly. Honestly, Suganobu is a sweetheart that seems like they're a flirt, but they have the best words to smooth things over is the way I'll describe it. I'm sorry if I keep saying his name wrong, but Tononobu is his brother, who seems like he goes after the ladies all the time, but he really doesn't. He just doesn't know what he's doing. I would say like another himbo in a sense, but he's just one that really just tries his best, but he doesn't know what he's doing. Takatsuna is another character that looks very young and is just always earnest and ready to help. Shigehira is, I can't remember if it's like the cousin or brother of Tomomori, and he is obsessed with him. I would explain why, but I'll save that for the kitty corner, but he is obsessed with him, like always at his side like a shadow and just attached to him. And in every route that they portray him in, it's never healthy and it's never good, but in his route, it's given a whole new complete light. Shinao as a heroine is one that completely blew me away. She can fight for herself. She considers who she's fighting for or what she's fighting for. She can either be smart, kind, or strong, and it's pretty obvious in every route or story that she's going in. It really matters. For example, in Benki's route, she was very kind and considerate and constantly worried about how her actions affected others. In Tomomori's route, she constantly stopped and thought about what her next move should be, what her opponents were going to do next. Never once thinking about how it affected others. Not that it mattered in that story, but both of those did involve her powers and trying to manage them both. But overall though, I love this game. Each story was so different. I thought it would be at least a little close to Hakuoki, especially considering that there were strong powers involved, using energy and things like that. Strong energy, being a woman, hiding that. But a lot of that, for the most part, played little to no part. The cast of characters and stories were completely different, not to mention that the heroine was a complete 180 from this game in general. You get rivals to lovers, the best friend, the lovable himbo, the group of friends that stay by your side and support you, trials and tribulations, and excuse me, the side characters actually have routes? Not full-on routes, unfortunately, but this game actually had me fall for 3 characters. Normally when I play these games, I have one that I pick and I adore, and I won't let them go. But I couldn't decide between the lovable Benkei, Sweep Me Off My Feet, Suganobu, and Shigehira? I don't normally fall for 2 of these kind of characters, but Birushana had me change my mind. Anywho, Birushana hasn't surpassed my favorite games, but has definitely surpassed my expectations. How about you kitties? Let me know down what you think in the comments below and what game you think I should play next. I'll see you cool cats next time. Yeah, bye!